This channel does not promote any violence, harmful or illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant for educational purpose only.
Milord, here, your Lordship has been pleased to, Milord, hear the writ petitioner in extenso, where the prayers primarily are, Milord, in respect of a direction on the legislature by the judiciary, which in my very respectful submission would relate to the affairs of the legislature. I'll put it in a very broad term. It may or may not fall within the proceedings of the legislature, but Milord, it falls within the affairs of the legislature, where the presiding officer is the speaker. Now, this presiding officer is a presiding officer for all purposes. Take an example for the judiciary. Milord, the Honorable the Chief Justice is the head of the administrative side of the High Court, as well as in relation to the judicial functions as well, with some administrative functions at the same time. Therefore, Milord, this discussion had always been after independence as to what extent the judiciary can interfere with the functioning of or with the affairs of the legislature. Now, this is a case, Milord, where my Lord would have to decide to what extent the powers of judicial review can be exercised where, Milord, the immunities, privileges that the legislature or the assembly enjoys, Milord, under Article 194 of the Constitution, read with Articles 178 and 212 of the Constitution. With that, we also need to look at, Milord, 7th Schedule, List 2, Entry 39. And as your Lordship knows, Milord, under Article 208 of the Constitution, Milord, the state assemblies frame laws or regulation rules for regulating the procedures within of all activities within the legislature or the legislative assembly. Now, the interplay of all these provisions and the power, privileges, immunities which are available with the legislature, Milord, is the subject matter, according to me, of this litigation, whatever may be the prayer. Now, the prayer seems to be somewhat not that important, because the prayer is that to allow the central security forces. Kindly have a look to me at the page number 18, 18 of the writ petition. The prayer B says, issue a writ in the nature of mandamus directing the respondent so and so to immediately allow the central security forces to enter into the assembly house precincts along with their protectives. C is issue writ in the nature of mandamus directing the respondent authorities to ensure protection of opposition MLAs inside the assembly house precincts. Number one thing has not. I'm sorry, Milord. I did not hear the arguments of Mr. Kaur. I do not know whether, Milord, Mr. Kaur has addressed your Lordship on this issue or not. What does the petitioner mean by the expression precincts of the assembly house? Precincts in ordinary English terms would be the surrounding areas.
একটা বই দিয়েছিল না?
Milord, if your lordship has been
The rules of procedure, this, yes.
kindly see, Milord, page number 2 of that book
Precincts of the house.
means
Hmm.
and includes the legislative building and the ground surrounding it enclosed with iron railings. Now, the writ petitioner, Milord, wants, since he's a central security protectee, he wants that his forces or whatever guards, whatever would be the appropriate term, I do not know, they should be allowed to enter.
Inside the iron railing premises.
Now, so far as, Milord, the security of, because over inside the legislative assembly, predominantly the people's representative function with the other officers, the departmental staff, etc. Therefore, this is a place where the people's representative are available. They have certain functions, duties in the democratic process, in the legislative process, which are carried on by them. Some of them are considering the threat perception, Miller, people are protected accordingly. Some have Z category, some Z plus, some have central security, the rest are with the state security. Therefore, Miller, first question may arise is whether a central security protectee does stand on a higher footing than the state security protectees in or within or beyond or within the precincts of the assembly. Does he stand on a higher footing, or his threat perception is higher than the others in the premises? We are not concerned about the rest of the world. We are concerned about the place called assembly building and its surroundings. Whether, Millard, his threat perception is higher or more than the other state security protectors. Second is whether, Millard, this can be a subject matter of judicial review or not. I would be very humbly trying to assist your lordship that this cannot be a subject matter of judicial review. Because the apart from the constitutional embargo, if I may use this expression, possibly the court does not have the wherewithal to look into this. Now, Millard, may I take your lordship, Millard, through 3 or 4 paragraphs of the writ petition, and then, Millard, how we have dealt with his case in our opposition. Please have a look to paragraph 3 of the writ petition. The cause of action is this. The petitioner states that on 24th of July 2024, at around 12:20 p.m., when the petitioner number 1 was leaving the assembly house from his chamber at the assembly house, when suddenly at the lobby of the assembly building, the petitioner number 1 was attacked and attempted to be assaulted by one so-and-so, who happens to be a member of the legislative assembly from so-and-so constituency and from the ruling party. So this appears to be the cause of action. Now, what is a lobby? Please come back to that book once more.
Yes.
So page number 1. Lobby means the covered corridor immediately adjoining the chamber and coterminous with it. So it is basically a corridor which is
Adjoining that.
yes, which runs Millard
Right.
in front of all the chambers that are there in the assembly. Now, please take Millard the representation which your lordship would find at page 24. Regretfully, I am to state that today at about 12:20 p.m. at the lower lobby, C. So-and-so rushed towards me and tried to assault me physically, shouting XYZ. That is not very important. Let us not go into that. Therefore, whatever has happened had happened at the lower lobby. Therefore, Miller, this appears to be the reason or a fact which had triggered a so-called apprehension in the mind of the writ petitioner of insecurity, which, according to him, requires that his securities should follow him in the assembly premises. Miller, we have dealt with it in our affidavit in opposition. Now, please take Miller our affidavit in opposition. But the legal aspect, I will skip over for the time being. Please take paragraph 6 of my affidavit in opposition at page 13, 13.
Yes.
With reference to the allegations made in paragraphs 3 and 4 of the writ petition, 7 accepts so and so, denied dispute. It is denied that any untoward incident had transpired within the premises of the assembly due to any decision of the respondent number 1 to restrict security cover of the petitioners and other opposition MLAs from entering the assembly house compound as alleged thereof. It is further denied that the security provided by the state government to the members of the treasury are allowed free access to any part of the assembly compound as alleged or at all. Insofar as the complaint of 24th July is concerned, the same has been looked into by the Honorable Speaker and was placed before the House for discussion by members. With regard as to whether Sri Tapan Chatterjee allegedly attacked or sought to assault the petition number 1, and whether the said Sri Tapan Chatterjee is a repeat offender or whether Sri so-and-so tried to assault the petition number 1 or other members of the House on the floor of the House on an earlier occasion, the petitioners are put to strict proof thereof. Sri Tapan Chatterjee has not been impeached as petitioners, impeached by the petitioners. In the instant proceeding, the petitioners have not provided details, particulars of the allegations, etc. Then, Millard, please take para 7. With reference to para 5, 6, and 7, denied dispute, the security personnel of the petition number 1 had on an earlier occasion been involved in an unsavory incident. This led to prohibition of entry of central security personnel inside the precincts within the Legislative Assembly. Such prohibition took place on and from 6th of May 2021. There has been no allegation with regard to breach of security or apprehension of lack of security of any member of the House at any subsequent point of time except this petition. The security personnel of all MLAs have been provided with waiting space by way of temporary shed at a well demarcated site in between gate number 2 and gate number 3 of the Legislative Assembly. The said site has been earmarked for all security personnel, including the personal security officers of all members, including ministers. No one else except for the writ petitioners and Sri Mir Goswami has ever expressed any dissatisfaction or complaint with regard to the same. The CISF person, CISF personnel who may be acting as security staff of individual members are not required and or not permitted entry within the precincts of the assembly. The said personnel have also not complained regarding their waiting space. There is no dearth of proper shed at the site where the security personnel of individual members and ministers wait for such member ministers. The Legislative Assembly cannot be compelled to permit any number of individual security personnel of the members of the House entry into or access to the precincts of the Legislative Assembly. Furthermore, the Marshal cum Security Officer is entrusted to look after the security arrangements inside the precincts of the Assembly House along with the Assembly Chamber and is assisted by Deputy Marshal and internal security personnel of the Assembly House in maintaining peace and sanctity during the sessions of the Assembly. It is pertinent to note that none other than Sri Mihir Goswami had any reason to complain till date regarding arrangement of security made under the directions of the Honorable Speaker in respect of the Assembly. Then we look para 8 with reference to so and so. It is denied that only the security cover deployed for opposition MLAs are selectively restricted from entering the Assembly House precincts as alleged or at all. It is further denied that incidents have transpired surrounding the petitioners or otherwise within the Assembly House precincts which have made it imperative for the security personnel of CSF to be allowed entry within the Assembly House precincts as alleged or at all. It is further denied that, etc. Article 14 and all that. Now, the details of the security arrangements, your Lordship would find at page 10, subparagraph K. We're at page 10, subparagraph K. The Honorable Speaker is the head of the Secretariat, which functions under his ultimate control and direction. The Honorable Speaker's authority over the secretarial staff of the House, its precincts, and its security arrangement is supreme. All strangers, including security personnel, are subject to his orders. The Honorable Speaker, being responsible for the protection of the members, has made adequate and sufficient security arrangements and measures. Admission to the precincts of the Assembly compound, the Assembly House, including the chamber, the inner and outer corridors, as well as the galleries, are under strict control of the Speaker. There are 8 blocks inside the Assembly chamber. The sitting arrangements depend upon the number of members of the respective political parties, including Treasury and opposition members, and is accordingly decided by the Honorable Speaker. Detailed arrangements would appear from Annexure R3 hereto and the systematic diagram of the Assembly House. Marshal cum Security Officer of the West Bengal Legislative Assembly is entrusted to look after the entire security arrangements inside the Assembly House along the Assembly chamber. He is assisted by the Deputy Marshal and internal security personnel of the Assembly House in the form of an exclusive watch and ward security cadre. Apart from this, 70 police personnel from Kolkata Police are exclusively deputed during the session under the Marshal cum Security Officer, West Bengal Legislative Assembly, to look after the security during sessions. Assembly security personnel as well as deputed police personnel from Kolkata Police, both armed and unarmed, are posted inside the inner veranda of the Assembly House. A comprehensive duty roster of the security arrangements during the 4th session of the 17th Legislative Assembly is annexed. A temporary shed made outside the Assembly House premises between gate numbers 2 and 3 has been earmarked for all security personnel, including the personal security officers of the ministers and members. No security personnel are allowed to enter with arms inside the main building. This is very important. Where Assembly chamber is located, consequent to the decision taken by the General Purposes Committee of the Rajya Sabha and meeting of the Honorable Speaker of the Lok Sabha and the leaders of parties and groups in Lok Sabha, armed escorts PSO, personal security officer of honorable ministers, honorable members of the parliament are also not permitted inside the assembly house estate. Eh? Parliament house estate. They peel off from the vehicle at the respective iron gates itself. At no point of time, external security personnel are permitted inside the assembly house. Entry through the gates of the West Bengal Legislative Assembly was stopped after an unfortunate incident which resulted in a complaint made on May 6, 2021 by a representative groups of media or copy annexed. In the last 3 years since the aforesaid incident, no occasion has arisen for any member to have any complaint with regard to security arrangements in the assembly. Having regard to the tight-knit security arrangements, all members are safe, etc. Now, how is things controlled? Well, in the parliament, well, if your lordship may kindly come to page number 27 of my opposition. Well, it starts from page 26.
Yes.
This is Lok Sabha Bulletin of 2024, 23rd June 2024. The relevant, if your lordship may kindly have a look to page number 27, bottom. Carrying or display of firearms in Parliament estate. The carrying or display of arms and ammunition in any part of the Parliament estate is strictly prohibited. Only security personnel specifically deployed in the Parliament House, deployed in the Parliament House. This is very important. With authorization from Parliament security are permitted to carry arms. Kind cooperation. Then please take the number 46. I have placed 44. Keeping over 45, please take 46. Stoppage of entry of armed escorts, PSO, coming to the Parliament House estate. Consequent to the decision taken by the General Purposes Committee of the Rajya Sabha and meeting of the Honorable Speaker with the leaders of the parties and groups in Lok Sabha, armed escorts, PSO, personal security officer of the honorable ministers, honorable members of the parliament would not be permitted inside the Parliament House estate. They may peel off from the vehicle at the respective gates, iron gates itself, kind cooperation. Therefore, this is also the same arrangement, Pillar, is in the Parliament building or Millard areas. Now, what is our arrangement? Please have a look to page number 38. This is West Bengal Legislative Assembly.
Yes.
Well, this was published on 19th of July 2024. I skip over page 38. Please take page number 39 at the top. The southwest gate, gate number 2, has been earmarked for entry and exit of the leader of the opposition, chief opposition whip, MLAs, and media persons. The vehicles of members will be parked at such and such place. Then kindly take the next page, page number 40, para 13 over there. A temporary shed made outside the assembly house premises in between gate numbers 2 and 3 has been earmarked for all security personnel, including personal security officers of ministers and members. No security personnel will be allowed to enter with arms inside the main building. This is what Millard, the system which is also followed, Millard, in the parliament. Yes. Now, my lord, to my opposition's page 6, 7, and 8, my lord, the reply, I mean, in the reply, it has been dealt with in paragraph 6.
রিপ্লাইটা দেখে তুমি বাবু
Affidavit.
রিপ্লাই
But on the legal issue, we have said a lot of things in our affidavit. I am not placing it for the time. Paragraph number 6, with respect to the
Yes.
contents of paragraph numbers 4 to 9, I deny dispute, etc. I say that the response number 1 falls within the definition of so and so under Article 226. The aspect of justiciability of the decision taken by the response number 1, I have already covered in the preceding paragraph, which are not repeated. I also say that the petitioners have already brought to the records of the details of the untoward incident which has transpired into the Assembly House, and it is unfortunate that the very occurrence of the incidents have been denied in the affidavit. I vehemently deny that the security personnel of all MLAs have been provided with a waiting space by way of a temporary shed at a well-demarcated site in between gate number 2 and 3 of the Assembly building. I say that the restrictions have only be imposed with respect to CISF and CRPF personnel deployed for security of the opposition MLAs, whereas the state government protectees have been allowed to enter into the Assembly House compound without imposition of any restriction. I also deny that there is no dearth of proper shed at the site where the security personnel wait. I rather say only the security personnel belonging to the central forces deployed for security of the opposition Bharatiya Janata Party MLAs are made to wait in the temporary shed constructed outside the gate in inhuman condition, being exposed to rain, heat, and cold. There are even instances that during torrential rain, the security personnel deployed by the state government have been allowed to take shelter in the lobby of the Assembly House, whereas the security personnel belonging to the central forces have been compelled to wait in the outside shed in inhuman conditions. I specifically put it on record that all the opposition MLAs are aggrieved by the state discriminated restriction, and time to time has expressed their anguish over the petition number 1 being the leader of the opposition. Moreover, it is on public domain that at present the leader of the opposition has severe threat perception from Bangladeshi terror organization, as has been disclosed in the intelligence reports which went viral in media and clearly accepted. Now, the petitioner wants the writ court to go into this aspect: who is in the rain, who is in the heat, dust, etc. But these are, the factual background. Therefore, I have troubled your lordship with these 2-3 paragraphs, which otherwise was not required. Now, we are on the legal aspect, my lord. Then only one more factual aspect, my lord. He has said in paragraph 12 of the writ petition, I've missed that. Paragraph 12 of the writ petition, that kindly note paragraph 12, nothing much in that. Only state protectees are allowed to enter.
Yes.
But may I come back on next week sometimes?
But then what can be the reason for this distinction between the state and the
there is no distinction. It's only a averment in the writ petition.
are
There is no
the
distinction.
are the CISF CRPF personnel allowed to enter? Why
No
only
one
they?
is allowed to enter. There is a space
State-
earmarked
Yes,
where everybody stays.
and the state
State,
protectees.
central, whoever is there, they are stopped at a particular place. And
Everybody.
Yes.
It's not that only the
No, no, no.
CRPF personnel and stopped
no.
and the state people are allowed to
Central,
enter. Everybody.
Everybody. Only exception is that Assembly House, they also deploy some police, like Muller.
Yes, yes.
Police in
Yes.
front of all the courtrooms.
Right.
This is deployed by the High Court.
Yes.
Whereas there are some people who have personal security. They are not allowed entry over here with arms. Even if your lordship has the experience of going to some, say, central government quarters or something like that, which is guarded by the CISF, your lordship's PSO will not be allowed inside because he carries arm. This is the culture everywhere.
So the case that is being made out of discrimination,
Rather, he is trying to get an order which would result in a reverse discrimination.
all right.
But nowhere it is allowed. I cannot say about the other states, but so far as the parliament and our state is concerned, our assembly is concerned, it is not permitted.
All right. When do you want to come back?
ডে টু ডে করে শেষ করে দিন না।
যেমন important মামলা তো
It has been demonstrated while we were arguing, my lord, about what is there on record. That my lord, the security personnel,
Wait. Let him finish thereafter.
my lord, kindly, my lord, hear it and decide it, my lord, on a day-to-day basis, my lord.
This is not so very important that day-to-day hearing is
So,
to
my
be
lord,
done.
question, my lord,
There are so many writ petitions pending.
my lord,
And see these type of matters.
saw the crowd.
Just imagine. And with all these matters, if the board gets blocked, then it becomes very difficult for the
my
regular
lord, the
matters to be
question,
taken
my
up.
lord, the short question which needs to be answered on behalf of the my lord, honorable speaker is, my lord, as to whether constitutional provisions can be suspended by way of issuing an administrative letter, my lord. That is
Please
the
come.
short part. পরশু করে দিন
The learned Advocate General
21 তারিখ
commences
সাড়ে
argument,
3 আগে করে শেষ করুন।
but does not conclude the same.
What was it?
Stop. Fix for further argument on. Would you come up with a date?
I understand the learned
Your understanding will not be.
will agree on the 21st of July, my lord. We can
No. Do we keep it on 21st? List on 21st July.
matter can be heard for the entire day and decided.
No, the court has other things to do. Matter heard for the entire day. It's not done that way.
No, no, মানে 21 আগে করে 21 আগে পারবেন না।
এই তো
কোর্ট বন্ধ হয়ে যাবে, রেজলিউশন হবে, রেজলিউশন হবে।
তুই আসবি আমি আসবো
There might be a resolution. My lord, kindly takes it up sometimes next week, my lord.
No, 21st.
20. No,
It is your proposal.
oh, it is only 8th, my lord. I thought we are on the 17th.
So what you thought
No,
is
but
that you
I
propose
I got
21st and
my
it
lord,
has
I got
been
confused. My lord, I got confused
Yeah.
with the calendar, my lord. I thought that we are on the 17th. My lord, kindly takes it up. Okay, so that.
21st.
My lord, any day next week, my lord.
No,
My lord, any day next week.
impossible.
Very well. My lord, kindly mark it as hard in part, my lord. My lord, hard in, my lord, for substantial period, my lord.
Have you seen any matter in my list mentioned heard in part?
My lord, I
Name
understand.
one single matter?
My lord, I understand, my lord, 21st, even if there is a resolution, my lord,
Yes.
matter will be
He
taken up.
can join online also, no difficulty, and the AG always joins.
I will be here, my lord, physically.
No issues.